Hey, welcome back to BIZ Talk TV. I'm your host and business guide, Michael Rager. I've got him. He's the man, the myth, the legend. He's here, Leo Simpson. How you doing, my friend?
Great. You surely know how to put a smile on somebody's face.
That's what I got to do now. I got to put, I've been putting smiles on my kid face all week. His birthday week, and find him all kinds of
Awesome.
things. So it's been awesome. All right, buddy, we're going to talk about a topic that's, true to both of our hearts.
Yeah.
Management versus leadership.
Mm.
They're two different things. All right, here's how I see it and how I was told. It was this: you lead people, you manage things. Simple.
It's simple.
How do you go deeper into that? What's the difference, and how deeper do we go, and what do business owners need to know about the two?
So we got to start with how we typically look at leadership and management. And generally, we interchange the two and make them sound like the same as far as how we deal with it. But leadership is not the same as management, and management is not the same as leadership. And they require that we think about them in a certain way so that we can truly get the value from them. Now, I like to think about these two in the same way that we think about family life and business life. And so, as we talk about it today, I think it's very important that I bring in some of those dynamics with regard to family life and business life. In the same way that we have to think about leadership and management in the appropriate manners, so it is we have to think about family life and business life in the appropriate manners, because otherwise we don't get the value that we need to get. And in the same way that we say that family life and business life are meant to be teammates, not opponents, it's the same thing with regard to leadership and management. They are teammates, not opponents.
So, how do we distinguish between the two, though? So, how do we get in there and go to our team and say, hey, this is a leadership issue, this is a management issue? How do we look at that?
Absolutely. So we start with understanding that leadership is more at the intangible level,
Mm-hmm.
management is at the tangible level, meaning management is more about what you get done, and then leadership is about who gets it done. And so when you start there, you help yourself have a solid foundation of how you approach it. The other thing you have to look at, and like I've shared with you in conversation, I've talked about this over the last 8 weeks in my problem solving and decision making class that I teach at the local community college, and that is that leadership is focused on people and thoughts, and then management is focused on processes and things. And the distinction between those two goes a little bit deeper, where you understand you lead with finesse and you manage with force, particularly because the things you manage need force in order for you to get them moving. People don't need force, they need finesse because they have force of their own. It's just like we say about family life and business life. Family life requires more of a quality of time than a quantity of time. Business life requires more of a quantity of time than a quality of time. And make sure I'm clear, because sometimes I say it and I get confused. Family life is quality of time more than quantity, and business life is quantity of time more than quality. And when you understand those dynamics to be what they ought to be for the value that can come from them, you can get the greatest benefit and value from them. Same way in regard to leadership and management. When you understand you lead with finesse and you manage with force, and you understand that they are related to people and thoughts on the leadership side and processes and things on the management side, it changes the game for you.
Yeah, it does. I'm coaching a client right now, and one of the things we got to teach him is the leadership style is the beatings will continue until morale improves. That doesn't,
Wow.
that doesn't go there. Is they're very forceful in the way they do, and they wonder why things are
Wow.
not getting done. People come in, they're grumpy, they're cranky, and they don't want to be there. I think when we go looking at leadership versus management, one of my thoughts, Leo, is leadership is the vision. It's we're taking you somewhere, and we're taking you somewhere for a purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
management is utilizing the skills and tools and everything we have to get there. So we're going to set the course on the boat, Are we going to row? Are we going to sail? Are we going to use the motor? What's going on? So when you go into a company and you start digging in there that way, how do you start differentiating between the two? And let me ask you this, which one's more important?
Hey, so to be honest, one is not more important than the other. However, if you don't deal with them appropriately, you will position one to seem more
Mhm.
important than the other. And to answer your first question, one of the things that's important is to understand that leadership, being connected with the people, is the first point that you've got to start with. And in order to understand that leadership corresponds primarily to the people, you have to understand that thoughts are the primary connection with the people. Everyone has the authority, the power, the control to lead their own thoughts. And if I approach people understanding that they get to decide what they decide to do, meaning they get to decide how they execute, then I've got to have credibility with them in order to influence them, because leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, to influence them, but at the level of their thoughts. So if I'm going to browbeat people, be brash, and be forceful, I'm going to lose them because I have not engaged them at the level that speaks to what makes them people, one, and two, what makes them leaders, no matter what their role is. So I look for, are we dealing with people at the level of parity? And the best point of parity is our potential. Am I dealing with people, regardless of my role, from the standpoint that whatever it is their role is and my role is, that our interactions are going to allow us to grow in the unleashing and the tapping into our unlimited, unfulfilled potential? If that's the case, then I can always tap into their thought process and their perspective and what moves them and motivates them as well as inspires them, in order to lead them in a way that they can then not only manage the things, or I can help manage the things that they manage, so that we get things done at the highest level. I told my students this: one is not more important than the other. However, it's going to be very difficult to get to leadership from management. But if you start at leadership, you will always get to management.
Yeah, and I think it comes to the point, Leo, that especially if that leader is setting a strong vision, when something goes awry, all right. So we had Mac and Natalia on. They always talk about conflict resolution, and one of the things that we can look at is when something goes awry. Was the reason it went awry because we were not being true to our vision?
Mm.
And where do we want to go? And that can always be a question to come back. When something goes wrong, we do that. So when you start helping people, develop leadership skills, because you're just not born leaders. Yeah, some people are influential because they're big and they're burly or they're handsome or they're good looking. But when we start developing leadership skills, that's a little deeper. So how do you go working with people to develop leadership skills to make sure they understand so they can lead properly and get managed, the things managed the right way?
Yeah, first of all, I tell her what Judd Maxwell said: all leaders are bored. I've
Yeah,
never
they
met a
are.
leader who wasn't bored.
No matter what.
But the first thing is, man, I start with clarity. Like,
Hmm.
I get clarity of the expectation. I set the expectation. I understand what are the expectations for the company, for the individual, for their particular pursuit. Because at the level of clarity, you're able to be able to navigate where you need to go, which goes back to what you're saying about vision. If you can't see where you're going, if you don't know where you're going, then you can't influence anything. Matter of fact, John Maxwell says this, and he's said it in a number of his books and content. He said, a leader without followers, which is a person with no clarity, because if you got no clarity, I guarantee you nobody's following you. You got no vision, nobody's following you. A leader without followers is somebody who's simply out taking a walk.
Yeah.
And I try to help make sure people understand if they're taking a walk or if they're actually leading.
Well, yeah. And I think, again, one of my favorite John quotes is, most people, they don't have footprints in the sand. They got butt prints in the sand. They're just kind of sitting there doing what they need to do. They're not going anywhere. And that's very important. But, it comes back so many times that I see it when I'm coaching my clients is you get what you accept.
Mm-hmm.
If you've not gone out there and put the level high, you're going to accept mediocrity. And then when you
Yeah,
get mediocrity, it's your own fault. And
absolutely.
that's where we get it. We've got to get to. We got to look at these things. So we got about a minute and a half left, Leo. What's the most important thing that business owners need to take from this lesson of leadership versus management?
You have to lead people. You got to manage processes. Understand that you lead at the level of thoughts,
Mm.
not at the level of things. You manage at the level of things. And you understand that the way you get to navigate well between leadership and management is, as Maxwell has told us, listen, learn, then lead. When you get to that level of leadership from the learning and the listening, it will position you to be authoritative in your level of execution at the management level.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's awesome. So how do people get a hold of you, Leo?
Team3L.com. We got some exciting things going on. Matter of fact, we've got posted up there now the episode that we did with Entrepreneurs on Fire, where we exposed to over 130 million people our concept and perspective about achieving mastery between family life and business life. So we're excited. Go check it out.
Man, it's awesome. It's awesome. Again, you're a business owner. You want to learn about leadership. You're a parent. You want to learn about leadership. You want to get the parenting and the business life together. Talk to Leo, man. I appreciate it. You have a great one, Leo. We'll see you next time.
Take care, man.
All right. I'm Michael Rager, your business guide here on Now Media Television.